Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode. This is Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Thanks to our subscribers and those listening for the first, second, or third time. We appreciate having you in. Today is another guest day. As you know, sometimes it's me just talking about professional relationships and business networking. Other times I get great, awesome guests who can come in and kind of supplement the things that I talk about. Today I have with me Mike Michalowicz. Mike has built 4 multi-million-dollar companies. He sold one of those to a Fortune 500 company and sold another to in a private equity firm and maintains controlling interests in the others. He's also experienced 10 failed businesses and lost his entire fortune. We probably learned more there twice.
Yeah, true.
But his intense experiences have driven Mike to be an author who radically simplifies the business ownership journey. Mike is the author of the perennial best-selling book, Profit First, The Pumpkin Plan, and Clockwork. He's a former small business consultant for the Wall Street Journal and a former business makeover specialist on MSNBC. He's a world-renowned keynote speaker and host of Entrepreneurship Elevated, the popular podcast for entrepreneurs. Mike, welcome to the program.
Frank, it is awesome to be here. Such a good biography. I mean, I think the only thing I can add is that in the COVID crisis, I look like a general from the Civil War. That's about all I can add.
That's okay. Yeah. I think I can't grow a beard like you, but
I didn't know I could grow a beard. This thing's just out of control now. It's like a weed on my face.
Well, eventually it's got to come off, right? Or maybe not. Maybe
at some point. Yeah. Well, so far the wife likes it. So if the wifey likey, it stays. And
okay.
One day it will go.
Okay. I really thought the whole COVID thing would put the end to beards, to be honest, because wearing masks.
Too.
Yeah, but
yeah,
apparently not. Anyhow, you and I met back in March, April timeframe when you did a program for the AmSpirit Business Connections membership. Matt Ward, shout out to Matt Ward, kind of introduced you to us, and you talked about your recession response program, or just, we had a lot of entrepreneurs on, and it was very insightful. And you talked about your book, Fix This Next, which is now out. I have a few copies. People out there.
Yeah, I noticed. I love it.
But you have a lot of free stuff. You got to buy the book. But for people who go to recessionresponse.com, there's a lot of neat stuff there. And there was one thing that really caught my eye, and I wanted to get you on the program for this, was the Evolve communication method. And Evolve is really an acronym. I guess I'll let you jump off because I really think that speaks to relationships.
Yeah. What's so interesting is as I was writing Fix This Next, and then as the pandemic set upon us, I found that the way we communicate was paramount to how successful businesses are. The way we communicate with our clients, the way we communicate with our employees are paramount, particularly in crisis. It was so funny. I got an email that's is an illustration of how not to communicate from Chevy. I own a Chevy car, and Chevy sent me this email right when the COVID crisis was breaking out, and they continue to send these emails, and I consider them to be diatribes. They're like 15 paragraphs long. It's an assault on the senses, honestly. And the opening line is like the worst line ever. It says, "We're all in this together." And I'm sitting there like, oh, here we go. What are you going to freaking sell me, Chevy? And then they go on trying to sell me. And I remember like paragraph number 4, after they go through all their safety precautions and stuff, like by paragraph 4 or 5, it says, are you ready for your oil change so you can start traveling? I'm like, I'm in an infected city. Do you want me to go to another infected city? Thank you, Chevy. And it just continues on. And at the very end, it says, and if you're ready to buy a car, we're going to drop one off in your neighborhood. I'm like, shame on you.
Yeah.
I think the financial team maybe was doing the appropriate thing to try to bolster sales. But I don't know if the CMO saw that. I wonder if that was some rookie marketing person said, hey, let's take advantage of this. That's being opportunistic. And that really had me start focusing on what's effective communication. How can we be of service to our clients, particularly in crisis? And how can we lead our employees who can be scared and seeking leadership? And that brought about this evolve method of communicating.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And I guess we can kind of go through it for our listeners. I'll go letter by letter, and then we can kind of talk. But the E is for empathy. I think that's a great start.
It's a great start, and it was disregarded by Chevy. And listen, I'm not trying to pick on Chevy. I just thought it was such an example of what not to do. Here's the ironic thing. I got another email from a company that I think not so much about, but was impressed. It was United Airlines. They got a +1 in their column for me. They sent an email out, and the opening line didn't say we're all in this together. It says, we can't begin to comprehend how this is affecting you. That is the truth. And that shows empathy. Empathy is not trying to place our opinion upon someone else. We're all in this together. It's realizing that we're not in someone else's shoes. What a great opening line. And encouraged me to read the next line. United continued on to say, you've been a loyal customer. Their hub is in New Jersey, where I am. So I fly United. It says, you've been a loyal customer for years. We want you to know that we've extended your loyalty benefits, regardless if you choose to fly with us in this upcoming year. And that was the email. Short, concise, empathetic, and then of service. That is the definition of how you need to communicate. And empathy is not knowing the solution. It's definitely not placing our opinion upon other people. It's simply acknowledging we don't know everything and giving an allowance for the person receiving that to truly be within the confines of who they are. That's what empathy is. And we can use that when we communicate with customers. We definitely can use that when we communicate with any loved ones, employees, any relationship. Empathetic. And empathy, by the way, is more listening than speaking. And as we go through this, you'll notice that almost everything is about the listening components. Very little is about the speaking side.
That kind of plays into the next one. First one was empathy. Second one was vision. When I first saw vision, it was more, okay, am I communicating my vision? And that's not it at all. It's really learning theirs.
Yes. So here's a definition of humanity. We are all concerned only about ourselves. And even Mother Teresa, or you can think of these great givers in society, all they cared about was themselves, not in an egotistical way, but in how they felt internally. Mother Teresa, I'd argue, cared so much about how she cared for others that gave her a sense of accomplishment or feeling or happiness, whatever she experienced. But at the end of the day, it was about her. And I'm about me and you're about you. But I should say, and we have to understand that when we're speaking with others, what everyone's seeking is to achieve their vision. And I'm not saying this grand vision necessarily. It's just the vision for the moment or what's the outcome they're seeking. And we have to, when we communicate, get an understanding for it. Very similar to empathy is we're not here to place our vision upon others. We're here to understand our vision, other people's vision, and see if collectively we can be of service to each other. When we come from that perspective, we are such a more effective communicator. I'll give you an example in my own office. I met with my colleagues as the COVID virus was breaking out and just said, hey, I can't imagine how this is affecting you. How is it affecting you? Is there things that I need to be aware of? And one of our team members here, her name is Jenna, I didn't realize this. They were in a process of buying a new house. They sold their old house, or they left their old house and are trying to get a new one. And the COVID virus broke out right then. Well, mortgages, all that stuff is outside the window. So now she's out of her old house and she's in this purgatory state looking for a new one. If I didn't understand her vision isn't moving the company forward to our next goal or objective or milestone. Her vision was get a roof over the head for her family.
Yeah.
And once I understood that, it wasn't my job to make that happen, but it was my job to understand that was her biggest need and do what I can to accommodate that, to give her job flexibility. That's what I'm talking about vision. Understand the outcome the person we're communicating with is looking to achieve.
Great. All right, opportunity.
Yeah. So the opportunity is to identify what are the small bite-sized pieces to get toward that vision. So just continuing on Jenna's story, my job wasn't to say, hey, Jenna, let's go find you a house. I got this for you. My job was, what can I do to make our relationship an opportunity to achieve that vision? And that's not the exact words I used, but it became very clear that if Jenna was given the flexibility in her work schedule to meet with a mortgage company, to go look at houses and do these other activities when she was normally working, that would give her a big, even though a small accommodation by me, a big move toward getting her outcome. So what are the opportunities? Once you know the other person's vision, what are the opportunities for you to be of service to it? There's a great movie. I just love it. And it was a movie called Miracle on 34th Street. It's an old classic. And if you've seen that movie,
yeah,
you remember. So this is the real Santa Claus. The real Santa Claus has to prove he's the real Santa Claus. And in this journey he's going through, he gets employed by Macy's to work as the Santa Claus in the store. Santa Claus, the real Santa Claus, and in this case, serving the role as a Santa Claus, realized it was wired into him that when people had a vision, it was his job to bring about the opportunity, or especially if it didn't include him. So, for example, he was told when a customer comes up and they put their child in your lap and they whisper in your ear what they want, tell the parent, hey, you can find aisle 4, section 3, or whatever in the Macy's. It's a selling opportunity. But what Santa Claus did, when someone said, hey, I'm looking for, roller skates for my child, Santa said, oh, Gimbal, when Gimbals existed, Gimbals across the street has a discount. Get it there. He was sending people away from the store. Right. And you see in the next scene, in the overacting of the 50s, the manager contorting his face going, I can't believe Santa Claus did that. And then he's about to fire Santa Claus. But the next moment, you see Macy's being flooded because Santa Claus was showing the opportunity for the client to be served, the person to be served. They won over reputation. You will have a reputation for excellence if you pursue presenting the best opportunity to your clients, your contacts, your network, as opposed to providing yourself as the only opportunity.
No, that's great. And I think the Jenna story is, I think, something, I don't know, I relate to that particular circumstance, but really everybody around us has these little things.
Yeah.
They're not big things. They're little things that really kind of make the difference. The next one is, which I thought was interesting, listening is on the list because all of this is listening. It's almost like redundant.
All listening.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But in here, Frank, I got to the mechanics. And they're saying, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we listen twice as much as we speak. Another person once told me the shortest lesson in sales is ask questions and listen. When it comes to communication, it is really the allowance of a person to release the steam of their thoughts. It may be duress, but it could also be happiness. Just allow them to be heard. And a big component of listening is not speaking. Most people are simply waiting for their turn to speak. Right. I kind of did to you here. You were finishing a thought. I was like, I got an answer. That my mistake. The best mechanic, I call it the 3 breathes or the 3 breaths. And what I mean by this is when someone is finishing a thought, one simple mechanic that's often shared is give a count to 5 or 3 or whatever before you respond, so that you're sure the person's completed their thoughts, but also you allow your mind to process. The problem of counting is it doesn't allow us to think. It forces us to go through numbers, and therefore it actually impedes our ability to really ponder. But breath is a natural process. So when someone finishes speaking, if we simply finish the breathe in, allow the breath out, and breathe in one more time, and then respond, that actually, because it's automatic, it allows us to process thought and respond much more thoughtfully. And it shows the person that's speaking that we really considered and pondered their thought, that they were heard.
Gotcha.
You just did a 3 breather to me. I felt it. I felt it.
Probably edit out of the podcast you watch.
No, you won't. That's funny.
Okay. Empathy, vision, opportunity, listening, values. And, before I'm done with you, I'll let you jump in. But in this white paper that you had that I pulled down, which prompted me to reach out to you, I love this simple question, remind yourself of values. The question you should ask is, if your child or loved ones, I've got children, so children,
Yeah.
were in this situation, what would you tell them? I thought that was so powerful, because sometimes I'm telling my kids, hey, you should do A, B, and C. And it may not be something with honesty or integrity necessarily, but job search or whatever. And I have to ask myself, okay, have I done that?
Yeah. So that's such a powerful question, because it tears through the fear and impedance that we put in our own path. As you have dialogues with other people, questions will be presented to you. Hey, how do you think I should address this? What should I do here? What's your opinion? And I used to render my opinion and say, oh, here's what you should do. Here's how I would do it if I was you, type of thing. And I realized when I put my opinions upon someone else, there's a natural subconscious wall that comes up. Like if you look at me and say, Mike, a t-shirt for an interview, you don't know here's how you should dress. Instantly, I'm like, oh, I feel, maybe consciously or subconsciously, but I feel like, oh, there's an attack on me. So I start to defend myself to justify what I'm doing. Well, when we simply ask, what would you tell your children? It actually goes back to the core values that I have for myself, and the degree of compliance with it now skyrockets. So if someone says, how should I dress for interviews? Instead of giving an opinion, I found a more effective response to say, well, if you were talking with your child, what would you tell your child how to prepare and present themselves for an interview? I'd tell them, to dress like the host, or, whatever. And now they're actually reflecting upon how they should behave. It is a great way to get through those impedances of opinion and get back to the essence of their personal values.
Gotcha. Well, that leads into the last one, then, experience. And, people, you say, hearing you should, or I suggest you, means that they're not listening, I guess. But
yeah. So the evolve method, the first 5 things we just went over are all about listening skills and ways we approach things. Experience sharing is really the only one that comes about communicating back or speaking back.
Right.
And what most people do is they render their opinion as fact. They render their opinion where it results in conflict, often subconsciously, but people are like, oh, I'm not going to absorb this because this is someone thrusting something upon me. There was a psychologist, his last name was Gestalt. I don't remember his first name. I think he was German descent. But the Gestalt protocol is where we speak from storytelling. And when people speak in story format, particularly experiential story format, that the person listening in is much more receptive and likely to digest the opinion rendered as they see it through that story. For example, if you say, hey, Mike, I really suggest you dress by wearing a suit all the time, I will build up a barrier. But if you said, hey, Mike, I want to share a story of my personal experience. I used to wear t-shirts or whatever I had comfortably available for interviews, and I started storing a suit just off camera that when I was about to do an interview, I could quickly throw a suit on. And it did a couple of things for me. It gave me actually higher degrees of self-confidence. And I noticed that the hosts responded to it in such a favorable way. And that's it. You're not telling me I should wear a suit. You're not giving me opinion. But now my mind is absorbing it because A, it's pictorial storytelling. And I'm given the freedom to render my own opinion. I'm more likely to conclude, oh, I should leverage parts of Frank's story and use it for myself. So experience sharing is one of the most effective ways to present ideas.
Gotcha. Okay. Empathy, vision, opportunity, listening, values, experience. That's the evolved communication method. How can people help you? Buy your books.
Send me a suit. Send me a suit quickly.
and a razor, right?
Yeah, and a razor, exactly. So I can get rid of this COVID sitch. I'll tell you how people can help me. And I'm a believer in currency, that I'm not expecting handouts. So how do I reciprocate? So what I did was I wrote my book, Fix This Next. You were kind enough to have me on your show. You have it so prominently presented behind you. I have a copy here too. Thank you. If someone is interested in picking up a copy of Fix This Next, you can get it on Amazon. There's 2 reasons why I encourage people to do it. First of all, I spent about 5 years writing this book. I believe it's the greatest work of my life to this point. And the evolved method, actually, we just shared, is a derivative from Fix This Next, a way to communicate with teams. And it's the most cost-effective way I can serve people. It's $25 or less right now on Amazon. So that's one reason to get it. It'll serve you. But I also have a selfish reason, is if people get it, it serves me. Because as Amazon gets orders in, it starts promoting to other entrepreneurs. It is the greatest way for fellow entrepreneurs to discover it. Here's the incentive or reward, I don't even know what you call it, that I want to share, is if anyone listens to the podcast, gets it, you can email me at mike@mikemichalowicz.com. I know my last name is like near impossible to spell, but when you get the book, and you can get the audio or Kindle or print, but when you get the book, just email me, mike@mikemichalowicz, just as it's spelled in the book, .com, and put Frank frickin' rules in the subject line. That way I can distinguish it. Tons of exclamation marks too. Put Frank frickin' rules, or if you want to put something more explicative, I'll take it too. And you don't even have to tell, just say I got the book or send me the lost content. You don't have to send me the receipt. It's totally on the honor system. But what I did, Frank, is I have content from the book that ultimately got deleted in the last edit to cut the book down to the appropriate size. I saved all that content. I'll send you, it's about 30 to 40 sections. I'll send you in a PDF that really complements the book and takes it to another level.
Awesome. Would it be okay if I shared the recessionresponse.com in the show notes?
Oh, I'd be honored. Yeah, it's totally
Yeah.
free. There's no sign up.
Okay.
You don't need
great
to
stuff.
Take what you want. Yeah.
Lots of great stuff. Well, I appreciate you being on the program.
It's been an honor for me. Thanks for having me. And thanks again, Frank, just for getting all those books and supporting me. I really appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.